Messi. Surging forward with real menace here. Brilliant from Messi. Oh, what a goal that is!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bola Bola Show. And as you can see, I'm not all by myself here. Returning back to our podcast after quite a long hiatus is none other than one of our co-founder himself, Mr. Alwin Lutz. Welcome.
Hey guys, good to be back.
Yeah, so Alwin,
How's
so currently
things?
now,
Yeah,
where are you based and how's things going on your end?
yeah, I'm still based in Taiwan. Things are going well here. And what about you?
I'm all good. As you can see, we have a special guest in our show.
Yeah,
So I've been collaborating quite a few of our podcasts. So once again, welcome Ras to the Bola Bola Show.
hey
Yes, my
Ras.
pleasure. My pleasure to be on the show, and
Yeah.
I'm just so delighted that
Mm-hmm.
I got a chance to meet Alvin again after a long time.
Well,
We were co-hosts
been
on
a lot
one other show in the
Yeah,
past as
yeah, yeah.
well.
Let's not forget
during
that.
the good old COVID days, bro.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And listening to the two of you talking also brought back memories of when I listened to your
Mm.
podcast and you guys were interviewing all these fantastic guests on the show. Completely enjoyed it. We're missing Bala though.
Mm-hmm.
So, that would have completed it, but hopefully he gets time to
Yeah,
sneak
yeah, we
in
never know.
within
Yeah,
the
we never know.
episode. Yeah,
He,
yeah,
he,
yeah, yeah,
he may
yeah.
come in during Fergie time or what, lah. We don't know.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. And of course, Alvin, you
Yeah,
mentioned the key word, Fergie time,
yeah,
because
yeah.
in today's episode, our focus is about Premier League football in the 1990s. We are talking about the years between 1992 up to 1999. These are like considered like the first chapter in the Premier League story. But before we dive into this discussion, first question, I'm going to throw it to you, Ras. First ever Premier League match you remember?
Actually, Premier League match, watching it live, I will have to go all the way till like maybe 95, 96. The one that comes to the top of my head was United against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. They won 3-0 or something like that. So, all the earlier years, I missed all those live matches because we didn't really get those in Singapore. I remember you would get it on TV Tiga, but a lot of times, we'd get to watch the matches, or rather the broadcast would only be for one match a week. You don't know that if it's a United match or not.
What about you, Alvin?
Yeah, so I will resonate exactly what Ras said because it was only basically down the road, right? When we had all these Astros and all these things coming in, where we used to get a lot of all this live coverage in the humble beginnings of the Premier League at the early stages during the 90s and all. It was made basically relying on the highlights. That's how it started, lah. So to be honest with you, if you were to ask me what is my first live Premier League game, I got to really think back now in memory lane, uh, back more than 20 over years, or even more than that. Yeah, yeah,
30
Mhm.
already, bro.
yeah, correct. Yeah, I try to discount 10, lah, bro. But what about you? Because
Uh,
you are one fella, your memory is like, spot on and all that. All. Can you pinpoint what? Or,
if I were to pinpoint the first time I watched a Premier League game, a full Premier League game would
yeah.
be when Manchester United beating Newcastle 2-0, ending
Oh, okay.
Newcastle United's unbeaten run in the 94-95 season. Back then, before when we had satellite TV that was giving us a full coverage, it was one of those odd, maybe once in a month, you'll get maybe one of the key games, you'll get a live fixture shown on TV3. But
Yeah.
otherwise, it's basically more or less the league highlight.
Was it
And
once in a month? Not every week, is it?
no, we don't really get it every week. It's like
No,
it was
Okay.
it was. I think it's not even TV3 like even like I think it was RTM. I mean,
probably,
it
yeah,
really
probably.
depends. Yeah. It was the
Yeah.
RTM days.
Yeah, probably RTM was showing the live game, but definitely the weekly highlights was on TV3. That one I'm pretty sure about that.
Mm.
So yeah, so that's
And
pretty
it was
much
on a Monday night at 10 o'clock or something like, if I remember lah.
something. Yeah, correct. It's always on a Monday
Yeah,
night. Yeah.
Monday
So
night lah. Yeah,
yeah, correct. So what do you guys
yeah.
know about the early years of the Premier League? Like why it was rebranded from a first division to be known as the Premier League? Let me any wild guess. Maybe you can guys pick a few important words that why it was done in such a way.
Privatization.
Absolutely yes. Yourself, Elvin?
Yeah. Yeah, commercialization, privatization, the ching ching and the ting ting and the bucks lah, right?
Definitely. Okay.
Yeah,
I mean, just to explain, a big part of it is because if you guys notice back then, English Premier League football, they don't really sign the big international names. And a big part of the reason is because the league was falling behind commercially compared to, of course, Serie A and La Liga. So if you look
yeah,
at today's football, if you look at Argentina's squad or the Brazil squad, you'll find that quite a lot of players are based in the Premier League. It's
Yeah.
because that's where the money is. So this was one of the reason of why the league was rebranded from the first division to the Premier League. And a big part of it is because the Premier League clubs themselves were not quite happy with what they were getting out from the first division. So they it was almost like a rebel league, lah. Basically, they rebelled themselves. They made their Sky Sport TV deal. They got a big package, good money, and all that. And they rebranded the whole package, probably following the same concept of what is it like in American football, NFL. On a match
yeah,
day, you get all the pre-match hype, the interviews, and the post-match and all that. It basically was like one absolute mega show lah on any game day. And because of this money that was coming in, clubs their coffers were getting deeper and deeper. But of course, in the early days of the Premier League, I think the clubs still didn't know how to really spend their money lah. When it's just like they became an overnight multi-millionaire. Probably all this while he was driving an old Honda City, he decided to just get a brand new Honda City when he could have afforded a Ferrari. But all that will change lah in times to come, as we are about to see that. Definitely, we're about to see more iconic 90s players arriving at the Premier League. So, which brings me to my first question to you guys. Who do you think was the most iconic player during that era?
One and only lah.
Wait. Before you
Cantona.
answer, okay.
See that? Must have the collar up.
Yeah,
Cantona.
yeah, yeah.
He was the first, the pioneer. He was a reject. Basically, he was a reject from France. I keep the collar up.
Keep the
He
call
was a
up, keep the call
reject
up.
from France, and then he came to England in the old first division as well for Leeds United.
Yep.
And then he did well, won the league, and then shockingly, United signed him. That in those days there was no transfer window, so United signed him in November. And I remember that season as well was a bad start for United. The season before, 91-92, for United, they had a shocking collapse. Lost the league title after leading it for a long period. They lost it in the last 1 or 2 months of the league to Leeds United with Cantona, and then they had a bit of a hangover the following season, not a very good start. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, United signed Cantona and things changed. And he's such a talismanic character, not just because of the way he plays, the collar up, the chest out. He's such an integral player for Manchester United at that point of time because in every single season he's played for United, he's won the league title. The only season he didn't win the league title was the season where he was suspended for kicking the fan.
Mhm.
So
And
that
even that
shows
was an
how,
iconic moment, right?
yeah, that is also
So,
an iconic moment of the 90s in the Premier League.
Mhm.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So, Elvin, I know you're a Man United fan. I know if
yeah,
given on any single day, you would too will name Eric Cantona.
yeah. If you
But
talk about the
you
90s lah,
okay? So,
yeah,
but you got to give
yeah.
another name now.
I mean, okay, actually the usual suspects lah, right? In the Premier League, I would say, of course, you get goal scoring machines like Alan Shearer. I mean, without for that many years, he was always leading the league table in the number of goals. And if you look back at the stats and all that, he's easily like 28 to 30 over goals a season, which and he was keeping it consistent. But I would say, like, besides the usual names, one guy in that 90s that really captivated me, and he was playing for a very low. I mean, it didn't come from any one of those big clubs and all that. But I
Oh,
just
I think I
absolutely
know
love.
already who.
I, I absolutely love Matthew Letizia. Okay, I mean, Mr.
Hmm.
Southampton. Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
I
okay,
mean,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I think I mean he was an interesting guy also during the 90s and all that, where for a team like Southampton everything went through him, and then he was for an English guy and an excellent left foot. So that was also something, and I mean Matthew Letizia is what these are the few. But Sivan, what about you? I mean, we can keep going on this list. I'm sure we got quite a number
Yeah,
of
yeah,
fellas.
yeah. There are actually many.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, I think it's important to recognize that we mentioned about Premier League clubs were getting richer. They were beginning to have more money. And
yeah.
with more money now, they were able to bring in marquee signings. So over the years, we are seeing a trend of where I think I would like to think it started with 94 with Jurgen Klinsmann
Mm.
arriving to the Premier League. But I would like to think that the close season 1995 is where the Premier League's true potential was beginning to unveil that what we were about to see, the league is what it is today. And that is Arsenal bringing Dennis Bergkamp from Inter Milan. So that was to me is a big deal. It's a big signing because we're talking about Arsenal here. Of course, they're not really a small club, quite a big club, having successful, and all that, but they were quite a boring team. And I'm not too sure what was the pitching made to Dennis Bergkamp, but I believe it has got a lot to do with the fact that you're going to be based in London, probably the most important city in the 90s, with the Britpop explosion, with everything is happening at that time. Probably that would have attracted him to give London a try instead of Milan. And in that same summer, Chelsea brought Ruud Gullit. So these are the two. But I would say the most important signing that really showed that what the Premier League can do was where they were able to price away a Brazilian playmaker who at that time was arguably the biggest talent in Brazil. You had clubs like Porto, Atletico Madrid on his door, knocking on his door, but he chose to go somewhere. I have to admit I never heard of them before until they got promoted to the Premier League, and that's Juninho of when he
Yeah.
came to Middlesbrough. That to me, these are the vital signings of that era that showed that Premier League is really becoming a game changer. And do you know, guys, one of the reason why they even like Cantona, Dennis Bergkamp, Juninho were able to be super successful in the Premier League, despite the fact that there's always this saying that Premier League football, the way the English plays very rough, full of grit,
Physical. Yeah.
full of physical. But
And thunder.
why they were able to dominate the league and why they made it look so easily.
Technique, I think. I feel is a technique that they
Okay,
have.
technique is definitely there. But what about you, Alvin?
I think the league that long ball style of play and the typical style of play that or the 4-4-2s. I think even back at then there was still a lot of 4-4-2s compared to all the formations
Yeah.
we see these
Yeah.
days. But these guys they brought a different dimension, and I would say that they were very cool and composed, even even under that heavy pressure. They are like what Ras said, the ball technique, the ball control, stuff like that creativity factor. I mean, we should not forget Zola as well.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
Correct.
when
Yes. Yeah.
when he was there, and Zola was another icon during that time. And if
Absolutely.
I were to say something about Zola, I mean, he of course, being, when he was in Chelsea and all that, he was one guy that to me changed. I mean, just to segue a bit from the question, as even just
Sure. Sure.
just
Sure.
because typically, we always knew about players when they wear the number is between 1 to 11 and all that. But Zola wore 25, and at that time 25 and Zola something very different for me. It's like, hey, usually when you buy a jersey or something, you expect to see either a 1 to 11 lah, right? And then suddenly now you have people getting jersey with 25. But then nowadays jersey numbers are all going. People are wearing 78 and 79, whatever lah. But yeah. But what I'm saying is, I mean, I would think that like what Russ said, even technique, creativity. But is there a particular factor
Technical
of
creativity is
point?
absolutely, you guys are absolutely right. But a big part of it is because most English Premier League teams, they don't know how to handle these players. They play with a flat back four and a flat middle four. These guys played between the lines.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons that Cantona became super successful in England is because Sir Alex would have played a 4-4-2, but with him dropping a deep down, centre backs didn't know what to do, whether I should go up or I should stay down here, which leaves him totally unmarked. Defensive midfielders also had no idea what to do with him, whether I should drop down, and leave a gap in the middle, or I should stay where I'm stay as what my coach told me to do. So they were able to exploit that freedom they had. And that's why they became super, super good and super successful.
I saw on the top of Zola, sorry. On Zola as well, you spoke about, players coming in and all, like I mentioned, Cantona was a reject from France. David Ginola also, another
Yep.
player that was a reject from France that came and did well in the Premier League. Zola was a bit different because Zola came in his prime. He was
Yep.
still an Italian international player, and in those days, Italian players don't want to leave Italy because that's where everyone is. They don't want to leave the best league in the world. Why would they want to go to England or Spain or any other country? Rarely you would get Italian players do that. But Zola left Italy in the prime of his career as an Italian international, joined Chelsea and did very well there. But of course, ultimately along the way, he did lose his place in the Italian national team, but that was also due to the embarrassment of riches up front. But my point is still that is a iconic signing because it happened in his prime of his career, not at the tail
Definitely.
end of his career or because he was rejected. Even
Yeah.
Bergkamp also couldn't suit the Italian football style because it's too defensive and he couldn't find space there to thrive. And you mentioned space. So again, Bergkamp coming to the Premier League probably settle in better language-wise and lifestyle-wise as well.
Mm-hmm.
Found the space that he needed to thrive, not always getting marked and finding it difficult to break down defenses. So here he is.
So, guys, of course, when you think about the 90s, there is no way that we cannot talk about Sir Alex Ferguson and Manchester United, the most dominant team of that era. All right. Now, you guys are the two United fans. I want to ask you guys something. Let's start with you, Alwin. What did make United a little bit more extra special than the rest of the pack?
I mean, Ferguson, he didn't go all out trying to break the bank and sign and all that, because he focused a lot on this talent development, right? So from the academy and all that, and that's where you got all the Gigsies, the Nevilles, the Scholes, the Barts, the Becks, So and he focused a lot on that, and Ferguson's style, I don't know if it's going to fly today with the hair dryer treatment and all that, but I believe at that time, right, they looked up to him as a true leader, and they had the respect for him. And of course, there was no Instagrams and TikToks and all that these days, where they so during that time, it worked. But I believe it just commanded the respect of the dressing room, and it was of course the Cantona signing was one, but it was also the addition of Keane, right,
Yep.
in the defensive in the middle of the park, that also created that balance in
Mhm.
in that whole team. Yeah,
And don't forget the guy guarding the goalpost.
yeah, of course.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
the Great Dane.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
On the point of United's dominance, I want to add that I think because I've been supporting United since 91, so I saw them from the before the Premier League era, and you could see that he was slowly building the team already. The final jigsaw was to be Cantona. So when Cantona came, the team was complete. But that team that he had, for me, my most favorite United team is still the 1994 team, because that team had it all for me, lah. I mean, because that probably first love. You saw the first time United dominate so much in the league, won the cup, won the FA Cup, did the double.
Mhm.
But that team had everything, had players that were flying down the wings, Kanchelskis, Giggs, Sharp. Then he had
Yeah.
fighters all around the pitch. Almost everyone was a fighter. So between themselves, they were fighters, and against the opponents also, they were fighters. Cantona, Hughes, Ince, Keane, Bruce, Pallister, Dennis Irwin and Paul Parker on each side, they were very quiet. Schmeichel is also a character. And they will all have, if you listen now to the podcast of all these guys talking, they always mention about having fallouts in the dressing room between each other. But on the pitch, they always gave their all for the team. They had fallouts with Ferguson, and, so it was so many great men. These were men that were playing
Mm.
football in that era, 93, 94. And that set the example for the Fergie fledglings. And he was
Mhm.
very particular. So I think another difference was there was a big drinking culture.
Yep.
So Sir Alex probably allowed them, he gave them a bit of leeway when needed to, but otherwise he had a tight rein on the players, especially the young ones coming through. So you also hear stories of people like Ryan Giggs going out to enjoy a night out, and then the manager popping up and spoiling in the party of him and Lee Sharp going out. So these kind of stories we hear, and that is also another difference between United and the rest of the clubs, because
Mhm.
he tried to get them away from such bad habits, from keeping such bad habits, and then of course later on in the era came all this the young talents through the youth academy. But he
Yeah.
also did break the bank, because for Roy Keane at the time when United signed
Yeah.
Roy Keane, it was the British record transfer fee. Andy Cole also was a British record transfer fee. Later on, Yap Stam, we paid quite a lot for him. So as and when we did break the record, of course I don't think United have, or rather, I wouldn't say United spend as much as City do nowadays, with almost every signing being a big money signing, not breaking the transfer record fee, but big money signing. United didn't do that, but they still did it when they needed to.
And who do you guys will consider the rivals?
First, Aston Villa actually, first season. Aston Villa
Mm.
and Norwich City. The very
Okay.
first season.
Yeah.
Aston Villa and Norwich
Mhm.
City.
Yeah.
Second
Mhm.
season was still Aston Villa. Then came Blackburn,
Yeah, it's a
Arsenal
shame.
after that.
It's a shame that we
Arsenal.
don't have our friend Bala today, because him being a Blackburn Rovers supporter, we would have loved to hear his input on how Blackburn Rovers won the Premier League title in 1995. But
Mm,
I remember there's always this discussion when people looked at Leicester City winning the Premier League in 2016. They
Yeah.
compare that to the Blackburn team of 95. I felt it's not really
accurate.
a straight
Yeah.
comparison, because I think it's a bit of a loop-sided comparison. Because when you look at what Blackburn Rovers was in 1995, they were definitely a team that was destined to win the Premier League at some point, because the
They were
talent of
spending.
the players
Yeah.
they had and the money they were getting in from Jack Walker, their owner. Because you look at the lineup of Shearer, Sutton, Colin Henry, what else? Jason Wilcox and all that.
Gallagher.
Yeah, these are
Yeah.
all the best,
Kevin Gallagher.
the best of the best of what the Premier League has to offer during the era. So to me, even though it was a bit of a stroke of luck, but they did won it in 95, which to
Yeah.
me was by far one of the most exciting season. But the following year, I think, guys, is even more exciting than it ever was. But of course, if you ask any Newcastle United fan out there, I think it's a bit painful for them to talk about. I'm sure you guys know
Yeah.
which
So
season I'm referring to.
yeah. So, I mean, you talk about the 90s, the challenges and all that. Yeah. Then you can put Newcastle on that list as well, lah. And Kevin
Yeah.
Keegan losing his mind and that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that moment, right? That whole, he that 12-point lead, and they just blew it. But actually Newcastle was quite consistent also at that stage. They didn't just suddenly just appear like that. You see, so they were already cooking, and
Mm, correct.
they you could say these were the challenges lah, basically. You
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And Newcastle had this they knew how to score goals. If you look back at some of the historical records and all that, they were banging in a lot of goals and a lot of
Mm,
thrillers as well. A lot of great Newcastle matches. I would say, you will remember
Mm.
during those
Mm.
days. Yeah.
mm,
But if I were just to rewind back again, even to talk about the Blackburn and all that, for me, one starting, memory that happened was on the last day of the season, of course, and then Andy Cole side netting against West Ham. That memory is still with me. That chance and double hit the side netting, right? So yeah,
mm.
so
Ludek Miklosko had a
yeah,
game of his life
Yeah,
again. But
yeah,
this has
yeah.
happened the second time. The first time he did this was in 91, 92 in the last season of the first division. Did the same thing against United, had a game of his life, stopped United from beating West Ham. Also a draw, if I'm not wrong. That game also ended in a draw and also, you know, dented our hopes of winning the league title that season. And then he
mhm.
did it again. So he was a bit of a boogeyman for us. I think one more thing I need to speak about of the Premier League in the 90s was the pitch. The pitches wasn't pristine pitches like what we get today. There
Yep.
were a lot of times you like Selhurst Park, you play on pitches, it look a bit bumpy, not the best. Even Old Trafford at certain times of the year wasn't really the best. I remember there was one game, Blackburn against Liverpool or something. It was played at Ewood Park, and the guy took a shot. The ball hit a bobble and went over Tim Flowers and into the net. The first time I've seen something like that in my life.
Mhm.
So that explains to you the quality of the pitches at that time wasn't
Yep.
always greatest.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. And of course, the next rival that we need to talk about, the rival which I think that sort of catapulted the Premier League to a whole new different level, which was the arrival of a Frenchman from Japan, Mr. Arsene
Oh,
Wenger,
yeah.
to Arsenal. Maybe, Alvin, I'm going to pitch this on you first, okay? What was
Mm.
your impression of some French guy from who's just managed
Urawa
Nagoya
Red,
Grampus 8,
Urawa Red Diamonds, right?
Nagoya Grampus 8,
Oh yeah, sorry, Nagoya.
coming
Yeah.
over to the Premier League to manage Arsenal? I mean, what was running through your? I mean, what was your impression at that time? Like,
It was a Josh Gray Arsenal, right? So it was like, 1-0 to the Arsenal, and that was the Arsenal, that very nitty gritty team, that guys, and so yeah. I mean, first thing is I was wondering who is this fella, right? And for them to actually take their chance on him. I mean, you will see the fruits that come out later, lah. And what I think what Ras mentioned earlier about the drinking culture and all that. I think this fella, he had some issue about them. I think drinking tea with milk or something like that, right?
oh
I think
yes, yes,
even
yes,
even
yes,
even that.
yeah,
So I think he transformed things, and he focused on things where they were really not focusing on, like nutrition and stuff like that. And then of course then he brought in his own flair into it by making some significant signings and all that. So yeah, of course that rivalry will carry on, even past the 90s. But if you look at the 90s, that was towards the
The
tail end of the
start of it.
90s. Yeah, it's the start of it.
yeah.
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 Yeah, you mentioned about the tea part. That is absolutely true. Wenger was actually horrified the way the English was drink tea because the way they just taro the milk inside the tea, they taro the milk, the sugar inside the
Sugar,
tea.
right? Definitely.
Yeah,
Milk and sugar.
he was someone that looked into the details. But even at that time, when I first heard about him arriving to Arsenal, even I posed me a question like, being this side of the world, you kind of feel like, wow, this guy from J League went into Premier League. Okay, but when I look back at his track record behind, of course, I was impressive that what he
Yeah.
accomplished at Monaco.
Yeah. Yeah.
And George Weah spoke highly of him
Mm.
as someone that was the man that gave him his breakthrough in his career. Maybe there's something interesting about his arrival. But what I didn't expect was how he became a game changer, not just in Arsenal, but the entire Premier League. If you look back at his arrival, I think that's where you start to see tactically how the league was changing and bringing in players, those French flair players from Arsenal for Arsenal. Bring Patrick Vieira, Emmanuel Petit, and of course Nicolas Anelka. Then further on, he will bring Thierry Henry as well. That was to me was a game changer. Even though it's hard to say whether did he reinvent the wheel, but I would say that his arrival was a huge factor in really opening up the Premier League even more wider than ever before, because we saw players coming in. You mentioned, like Ras mentioned about Zola, all these players were coming in their prime. And now you have managers who are coming in their prime. I think it all starts with Arsene Wenger, and further on, we're about to see, Jose Mourinho and so on. All
My
right.
my first impression on Arsene Wenger, he joining Arsenal was it seemed fated. His name had Arsene
Name.
in it. It's close
Yes.
to Arsenal. I say, wow, man, this guy's name is very close to the club. Not bad. It's like he felt like fate. He felt like fate, and but of course, I knew little about him until he made he did his talking on the pitch. Let's just say. So
Mhm.
then we
Yeah.
found out the hard way in 97-98 season what the Arsenal under Arsene Wenger could do.
Now, speaking of Big Six, who you consider like the Big Six during that era? Is there any name that we know so far we have not mentioned in our discussion? I know we talked about, of course, we talked about United, Arsenal, Newcastle, but were there any other teams that was missing out in this conversation so far?
The obvious one, Liverpool. Liverpool, I think the early years of the Premier League, they were okay, not really thereabouts. But I think 94, 95, 95, 96, that time at the Spice Boys era, Robbie Fowler's coming through. Steve McManaman had already made his debut. Robbie Fowler's coming through. Jamie Redknapp. I think especially Robbie Fowler. Robbie Fowler was really iconic. He was scoring goals for fun, and he was giving Liverpool a push under Roy Evans. I think that time, they really felt like okay, maybe they could finally break their duck. They still have people like John Barnes around. I think Ian Rush was also still around in that team. So I think Liverpool was bridging the gap, coming closer. But of course, they never quite made it lah. But they were still there and thereabouts. Chelsea were winning cups as well under Vialli, and not sure whether Ruud Gullit, but under Vialli, because they were having more players from Serie A coming through. Di Matteo also came. So they were having more players that were more European. So they were
Desai,
a good
Frank
team.
Leboeuf.
Yeah, Frank Leboeuf, all these guys, yeah. So they were becoming more European in their style, but they were becoming more of a cup team. So they were winning cups
You mentioned
in
about Liverpool, but here's what I need to say about Liverpool in the 90s, especially in the time that when they were under Roy Evans. Probably in my opinion, they had the best attacking lineup, the most exciting team attacking wise. You talked about Robbie Fowler, Steve McManaman. You had Patrick Berger at some point. You had
yeah,
Stan Collymore. Later on, you had
yeah.
Michael Owen and all these players. You also had John Barnes with them.
Mm.
But here's the thing: defensively, they were even more exciting than ever. You got to mind the gap here because you have Steve Harkness, Rob Jones, John Scales, Phil Webb.
Feel
That
bad, yeah.
that tells you everything about why Liverpool in the 90s were what
David
they
James,
were.
bro, you forgot David James in goal.
I don't want to be too harsh on David James because I felt that,
But the beginning was Grobela, right? It was still Grobela
Grobbelaar was still in the
beginning of it.
beginning.
Yeah,
Beginning
yeah,
days.
yeah. The
I,
beginning
I, I don't want to be
stages was
too
good.
I don't want to be too harsh on David James because later on years he proved to be quite a reliable goalkeeper when he had better defenders in front of him.
Later on, I think with maturity, I feel.
Yeah. But in the 90s, during that era, when you have this kind of defensive lineup, it's easy to see why Liverpool, if they were to able to score one or two goals, they end up conceding more at the back. Or even if they fail to score, they will end up conceding something at the back, which was, in my opinion, the biggest reason why they didn't achieve so much in the Premier League era. An exciting team to watch, but also a team, in my opinion, if you're a Liverpool fan, and a team that can easily let you down when it really matters.
Yeah, I think you can consider at that era also at the beginning, Leeds were, of course, because they won the
Yeah,
league
yeah.
before that as well, right? I mean, to even put Leeds in the conversation and all that. But more
Correct.
or less, okay, Spurs won the FA Cup with Gaza, in 91. So, taking in that momentum as well. But, when you consider Big Six, um, but
Actually, Spurs
interesting
also was
teams.
very exciting, like Sivan would say. They also had a great
Mm.
front lineup. Klinsmann joined. Klinsmann was also another one that came in a bit of his prime. Klinsmann joined. Then he had Sheringham, Klinsmann, Nick Bambi, Darren Anderton. It was quite solid going forward. Ozzy Ardiles as a manager, his philosophy was just to attack and forget defense. So So that's why that's another one where they had a good attack but a weak defense. So that
I
didn't
think
bode
that
well
that
for
that that
Spurs.
philosophy is still carrying on to Spurs these days, but so, so and,
Let's
and,
not talk about Spurs these
and,
days.
anyway, guys, the 90s, right? There was to me there were some I would say some iconic teams lah, in the 90s
Correct.
where we only experienced them in the 90s, and then they just disappeared now from, like, no, Sheffield Wednesday is one.
Yes.
This
Oh
is
my
one
God. Sheffield
team.
Wednesday was so
Yeah.
strong.
I know. Actually, for me, I was so captivated by Sheffield Wednesday just by the name. A team having Wednesday in the name, right? And then the
And they
whole
had an
Sheffield Wednesday
owl as a logo.
owl and the more I was looking into Sheffield Wednesday, I just realized that since our topic is the 90s, right? These guys, their duration in the Premier League was exactly in the 90s, and that was it. After the 90s, that was the last time they played top flight, and then they never got back into top flight again.
Yep.
So from the Premier League, from the beginning of the Premier League, they hang in there up to the last season, 1999
99, yep.
2000, then they were relegated. So
Yep.
Sheffield Wednesday, but they did enter a few cup finals.
Yeah.
The Coca-Cola Cup final, the FA Cup final. So these guys were, interesting. And another one, I would say, was the crazy gang.
Yes.
The Wimbledon's crazy gang.
Yes.
Only, entertainment
Vinnie
factor.
Jones.
And, yeah,
Vinnie Jones kicking lumps out of people. That's Premier League in the 90s. You could do that.
yeah,
Imagine him playing in today's football, kicking lumps out of Man City's players and Liverpool's players. I wonder how they would react. But that was that, he was kicking lumps out of United players, but they could take it. That's the thing. That's why I felt that United team, especially the one in '94, if you wanted to fight with them, they could fight. If they wanted to play good football, they could play good football. And you had to be like that in the Premier League in those days because of people like Vinnie Jones, Dennis Wise,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
all these guys. And you spoke about Sheffield Wednesday. They beat United in
Mm.
a League Cup final
Yep.
in
It was
90s
called the
also.
Rumbelows Cup. I don't know whether you guys remember the name before they changed it
Yeah,
to
Ramblos Cup.
yeah. Before it became the Coca-Cola Cup, because that has changed
Yeah.
many years now. It's called the Carabao Cup, right? So from the Rumbelows Cup, the evolution of that League Cup. Yes, but yes, they beat United just before the season, the Premier League started. Yeah.
Yes. And also they reached there was a 93, 94 or 90, 92, 93.
Yes,
They reached the League Cup final and FA Cup
and
final, played
lost
against
twice to
Arsenal
Arsenal.
twice.
Yeah.
Both went into a replay and then they lost the
Yes.
game. And Arsenal also
Yes.
before Wenger came in. Ian Wright, oh my God, what a striker. Ian Wright and the late Kevin Campbell.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Paul
Yep.
Merson behind him. And I mean, yeah, you spoke about the defensive solidity, but these guys up front, they were also a great class. Nottingham Forest also was a great team.
Yep. Nottingham Forest. No. I think in their first season got promoted and then they finished second. I mean, they finished third in the league, got a
Yeah.
European
They
spot.
finished high on. Yeah,
Yep.
Stan Collymore was playing for them. Brian Roy from Holland, Steve Stone,
Yep. Steve
Yeah.
Stone, definitely.
Lars
Yeah.
Bohinen.
Correct. And you mentioned about Sheffield Wednesday. When I look back at Sheffield Wednesday in the 90s, it comes to my mind they also had some exciting names that they signed, they brought
Yes.
into the era. They introduced to us Benito Carbone and
Exactly.
another
Yeah.
Italian mercurial genius, in my opinion, Paulo Di
Yeah.
Canio.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know Paulo Di Canio doesn't often get the credit because he never really shined or thrived in Serie A football during that era. But you could see that, that in the Premier League, how amazing he was. Again, how he was able to exploit all the space that was given to him, and he was such an exciting player. And I also remember that Dan Petrescu was also a Sheffield Wednesday player before he made the leap to Chelsea.
Oh,
So, you could see that these are the signs of how Premier League clubs were showing their potential that, we got money. If we can make the right pitch to the right player, for sure they will come. You can see that even a club like Sheffield Wednesday too had quite a few prominent names who may not have done well with them, but will do well for other teams, including one more player I forgot to mention, Darko Kovacevic.
oh yes. Was a Yugoslavian striker.
Yeah.
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 Club, I forgot to mention QPR. QPR was also tough. team, a strong team, and a tough ground to play. Those ground. QPR was one of those games when you watched it on TV, the angle will be right on top here, and you wouldn't be able to really see the stadium as a whole because we still covered by part of the stand. And the Dell was also a tough ground to go to, Southampton.
Yep.
Yeah.
The iconic, United wearing the grey jersey, going there, losing the first half, coming out in a different jersey. I seriously feel that grey jersey is sway. All the games that United wore that grey jersey that season, they lost or they drew. Only one they drew. The rest they lost. So
Mhm.
I agreed with Sir Alex that it was sway, but he didn't quite mention it in that way. But thankfully he saw it and he got rid of it. Otherwise, I don't know what would have happened to United that season.
Okay. And since you mentioned jersey, we're going to talk about iconic jersey from that era. So, Alwin, which jersey will come to your mind from that era?
I mean, that era, I mean, being a United fan, for me, is the United's Kedah jersey lah. I like
The
the
sharp you can, is
away
it?
yellow and yeah.
The
That one,
green and yellow, is it the one?
yes. The green, yellow Kedah, United Kedah jersey lah, basically. I mean, that one was definitely iconic for me. Another one during that period as well, right, was basically the you know Arsenal at one away jersey. I mean, to me, the away jerseys caught my attention. Arsenal at one, where how to explain? It was yellow, but there were a lot of
I
black
know.
black black kind of. It's not even spots. It's like arrows, and it's like the whole
Yeah,
jersey, and
arrows,
it's and it
arrows.
I just made
and
a
some of the
I just made a quick
iconic
Google.
brands,
I just made a quick Google search. They call it the Bruce Banana.
the bruised banana.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe because it's yellow with some black spots. Okay, and some of the iconic brands. For example, Arsenal had the JVC. You remember,
Yeah.
even JVC don't exist as a company I
Mhm.
think anymore, right? So that one, and of course, I mentioned about the United's green and yellow.
I think I'm looking at
Another,
Ras jersey right now, this Man United Umbro jersey. I think a lot of Umbro teams during that era also had a similar pattern. The Blackburn team that era that won the Premier League also had that a bit of strings on the neck side. I think that was quite of an iconic design during that era.
yeah,
Newcastle's
and
jersey. I like the Newcastle away jersey. That season 95, 96, I think. Or
the
96,
purple and
97. Yeah, the purple, yeah.
the stripe one, right? Yeah,
Yeah, the
and
stripe one.
yeah,
Mhm.
correct. And then you mentioned about Umbro. I think in the 90s, Umbro was like the brand, right? In terms of
Yeah.
kit,
Yep.
you didn't see any Nike kits and all that coming into the picture at that time. I think at that point
No.
of time there wasn't.
Adidas, I think. They were
I
mostly
there,
Adidas, Umbro.
there was a lot of Umbro. There was a lot of Umbro. These days, I can't even recall any Umbro kits, and I see a lot of Nike and Adidas and Pumas,
Mm.
Mhm.
and all that. And
I don't know
I
whether you
think
guys remember, Liverpool had a unique color for one of their away jersey.
Cream color, right?
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
yeah, I
Mhm.
mean Liverpool did have some interesting jerseys also. The green and the
Yeah, the half green,
that
the
FA
half
Cup
the quarter
that
Correct,
one.
yes.
that
Red,
half green, and
red
then
and green.
that FA Cup final jersey lah with the
Correct,
Yeah.
yes.
Cantona. That jersey I think was for Liverpool during that time also was quite iconic lah. Yeah.
But I would say in terms of jerseys, or kits, let's talk about kits.
Hmm.
Only one position, in my opinion, during that era, outshine everybody else.
One position.
Yes. It's always the
Goalkeeper.
goalkeepers, yes. The
Oh, okay.
goalkeepers always tends to have the most, I don't know what is the correct
Eccentric
word to
lah,
use, eccentric,
eccentric.
yes. Or whatever.
Colorful jerseys, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I'm not too sure whether was this sort of like a deploy to blurry the striker's vision when coming face to face with the goalkeeper or what. But in terms of the designs, the color, the extravagance the details that goes into all the goalkeeper jersey back then, it was always iconic lah. It's always like the
Mm.
goalkeeper if you are to look for him in the field, you can't miss him. You know where to find him, even though he tries to hide anywhere around the field. So
Yeah, cannot disguise himself.
cannot disguise himself. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the last line, right? Before the ball go in, I think they throw all the colors at you. So the striker is like you know.
And I don't know whether you guys are aware that it was also in the 90s where we are starting to see a bit of transition on the stadiums. A lot of teams were about to leave their old ground and move to a more modern, new iconic ground. One stadium comes to my mind is Bolton Wanderers because when they debuted in the Premier League, it was their what's it called, a Reebok Stadium.
No, Reebok was later. The Reebok was the new
I
stadium. I can't remember what the old stadium called.
And I think
mm,
even similarly for Middlesbrough also, they were
Yeah,
playing in a very old ground before they moved into what's the ground name?
Riverside.
Riverside
Riverside,
Stadium. Yeah. So what other stadium do you guys remember during that era?
Old Trafford.
Old Trafford for sure, yes. Old Trafford
yeah,
and
I
Anfield for
think
sure,
Even
yes.
yeah, we talk about that. There were grounds that were making new stands. I remember Stamford Bridge was undergoing some renovations during matches. So there was one part behind the stands where they were undergoing some renovation. The early 92, 93 season also United was Old Trafford was undergoing some renovation. The stands, I
yeah,
think Anfield's a great ground. I really miss grounds like Highbury,
Mm.
Upton Park, Loftus Road,
the Dell. You mentioned the
uh,
Dell right
the
earlier.
Dell also.
Southampton's
Even though
Dell.
not
Yeah,
many good memories, a very tough ground to play, but
The Dell
still,
can look very
yeah,
intimidating at times. You
yeah.
feel like it's very dark inside there. Like you can't see who are actually in the stands.
Mm. Yeah, so that was those were the stadiums lah.
Mm. Okay.
yeah.
So let's talk about media during that era. We'll start with print media, lah, basically. I'm sure, Elvin, I'm going to
Yeah,
start with you because I know you have quite a lengthy of collections of print stuff from during that era.
yeah. I used to actually save all my school pocket money, and go to the uncle's stand in the bus stop, the Klang bus station there. There's this one uncle, newspaper uncle selling, and then he used to have all these magazines there. And things like, of course, the United magazine I used to collect, and then also shoot and match, world soccer, and all these things at that time. I mean, it wasn't cheap as well. It was like between
Yeah,
8 to 15 ringgit. Depends on the on what you're buying and all that. But this is pre-internet time, so to get all of this magazine or something, I mean, I need to really go back and dig, and if you can find any of these are all retro stuff. But I wished I could have actually well kept all of these, because I'm sure all these are all definitely collector items, especially the entire series of the United magazines and all these. Yeah,
Yep.
and it's interesting also because magazines like the Shoot and Match and all that. I mean, of course, they will have match reports and stuff like that, but they'll also have
interviews,
some hot interviews, hot takes, some rumors, gossips, stuff like that. Basically, coming
Yep.
coming
posters as
into
well.
this.
Yep.
Yes, yes,
Even
posters.
I would say
Exactly.
the magazines were also very glossy and colorful during that era.
Yeah, yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
Yeah. When you look at shoot and
And
match, somehow or other the color is like so from
Striking.
far when you go to your favorite newsstand, you know that is a shoot
mm,
and match magazine. You can see it from
yeah,
far already.
yeah, yeah. And I think Ras mentioned a key point there was the poster. Because
All
you
right.
will get a poster, and all the posters ended up on my wall. So my entire room, right, was just peppered with all these posters of all players and all that. Because yeah,
Hmm. How about you,
so
Ras? Were you a
seeing
collector
that.
back then when it comes to magazines and all
I
that?
collected stickers more, so I had a lot of sticker collections. So
Yep.
up to a certain point lah, probably late 90s was when I stopped. But a lot of my primary school years, I had a lot of sticker collections. So magazines, I bought the United magazines normally during holidays, so it's very like one-off kind of thing. Like see, like Alvin mentioned, it's very expensive. So one-off, I might buy one here, one there. Yeah, and not I buy actually. I go out with my father during holidays, and he will buy one for me and all. And it's very exciting to read because you get the stories, the interviews, then you find out a bit
Yeah.
more the players. But later on in my life in secondary school, we had all these magazines in the library. So I dropped one subject when I was in secondary four. So I always had a free period. But this is now in the noughties already lah, no more 90s. So I would go there, read the magazine, I'll curi the posters. And I have a lot of those magazines that I bought. I a lot of cut-ups. So a lot of the cut-ups of the United players. So it might be from the magazine, my small cut-ups and all. I still keep those. It's in a box somewhere in my house. So I still keep those. And there was once I did open it up and see, and like wow, a lot of memories.
Mm.
Yeah, you should
Okay.
keep it, man. Yeah, and continue and pass down the legacy to your boy.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll keep it. Yes.
Mhm. Speaking of magazine, I got an interesting story to share with you guys.
Hmm.
During that era, I was close to a few of my classmates who quite very religious people,
Okay.
church-going people and all that. So I used to follow them on weekend activities in the church. I wasn't really very in tune with religion and all that. So when it comes to having chats, talking to people around, probably one of the few questions that I like to throw around is, "Hey, you guys like to watch football? What team you support and all that?" And very interesting enough, quite a, a recurring name that comes among the people and the members of that church is Man City supporters.
Oh,
Yes. So I wonder what was the reason. I think well, maybe in my house thinking maybe they were quite impressive with Georgie Kinkladze, Nicky Summerby, those players. Maybe they were big fans of Will Rosler or something. Huh? So the theory that they gave to me is quite mind blowing. It's because United, being known as the Red Devil, being associated with
oh,
the devil himself, they choose to support the opposite. And the team they found the opposite is Man City.
now
And
they
at
must
Yeah,
be
so
enjoying life.
and that's Man City in the 90s as well. What
yeah,
exactly was
Yeah.
it? What
yeah. I
said?
mean, I don't
Yeah.
know where most of these guys are. I've lost context. But what even makes me more mind blowing is that I mean, when they mentioned to me Man City and all that, I was thinking more of a casual fan just because on the antithesis of what Man United is. But it took me by surprise when during the discussion, the guy opened up his bag and he was taking out a Man City magazine and showing it to me on the table. As far as I know, you can never find a Man City monthly magazine anywhere in your newsstand in Malaysia and neither
Yeah.
in Singapore. You will never
Nope,
able to
nope,
find.
cannot. Yes.
So I dig out from them, how do you guys manage to buy all this? And most of it comes from because many of the church members who went to study overseas,
Mm.
who are based in the UK, will be able to get a hold of this magazine and send it back home to any of their friends. Or they, back then, I suppose this thing called mail order, which I don't know how secure it is, but that's how, and they managed to get a copy of the Man City magazine. And the season that I spoke about this to them is the season whereby Man City was actually not even a Premier League team. They were playing in the old second division. So that is one story I want to share with you guys with regards to
Wow.
magazine during that era.
With regards to Man City, so we never in the 90s there's nothing to mention about Man City at all. But yeah, you managed to slot that in for the Man City fans now
Okay.
enjoying life.
We thought we could get away with the episode without mentioning them.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna throw each and every one of you guys one question. Huh? If you
Mm.
could bring one player from the 90s to play in today's game, who would it be and would be able to have a same impact as they did back then? Start with you, Alvin.
It'll be the same name, that same icon which I mentioned at the top earlier, which Ras is also shaking his head there. It will be interesting to see what Cantona will do during this time.
Yes.
Yeah, so would just because I think the style of game he was way ahead of his time,
Oh,
and
absolutely,
so so
absolutely.
so now probably he fits into the style of the game, but the game has also evolved to counter people like him, right? So that will be the interesting part lah. How he set
What
to
position
work.
do you think he'll play?
Oh, that's a good question. I will still say he can. I would say he can play as a number nine as well as a number nine and a number 10 if the team plays with a playmaker.
False nine?
Yeah,
Yeah,
false nine.
he
Could do
can
that.
he
Yeah.
can drift in and out
Yeah, correct.
as a false
Mhm.
nine basically. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah.
So, Ras, I know you would like to mention Cantona, but
Yes.
what other names do you think can thrive in this era?
I would also mention another United player, and that's Andy Cole.
Okay, that's
God
interesting.
God knows we need Andy Cole's goals today.
Not the
Okay.
Andy Cole at West, not the Andy Cole at Upton Park, huh? The
Yeah,
Andy Cole at
yeah. The Andy Cole at Newcastle and the Andy
uh,
Cole at Manchester United after that. The one with
yeah,
speed and it did, despite all the misses and all that
yeah,
we remember him for in the early years as a United player, he still scored a lot of goals to his credit.
yep,
The
yep,
the remarkable 9-0 win against Ipswich Town, where he scored five. I think, wow,
yeah.
we could do a striker like that today
Mhm.
as a United fan.
No, I was just thinking. I think Andy Cole is an interesting guy. Andy Cole, uh, to me at that time was quite in the box, quite one-dimensional, right? I mean, I mean, of course, he does what he's supposed to do in the box, and also be interesting in this age and this day and time. A person like him,
But in this
yeah,
day and age, he will score even more because today's defenders aren't as good as the defenders back then. And it's also less rough house today than he was back then.
yeah, correct. Like if he
In those
survived
days,
back then,
yeah, to
yeah,
survive back then, they will kick you and all. I think even people like Alan Shearer, they will be enjoying life today. They'll be breaking records after records. All these strikers that we watch, Les Ferdinand, another great striker. Hey,
Mhm.
one more guy, Faustino
yeah,
Asprilla, also came in his prime.
yeah,
What a
Mm.
colorful character he was, man.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
In a colorful team like Newcastle, match made in heaven.
Yeah. The thing is about Faustino Spirilla, of course, there's a lot of positive to say about him, but if you were to pinpoint the reason of Newcastle's downfall in 95, 96,
It's him.
it was his arrival because Kevin Keegan, knowing the fact that he got excited with a name like Faustino Spirilla came to the team, decided to reshuffle the entire team by making it to a point. I don't know whether you guys remember, there was this episode of The Fresh Prince of Bel Air where Will Smith will go and join the high school basketball team, and the coach will point to the board, you need to do this, and the final thing is pass it to Will. So that's exactly what happened with Faustino Asprilla. Everything went to him. And so the whole
Yeah.
team that had that momentum that was going forward with their 12-point lead, not that I'm blaming Faustino Asprilla, but the arrival of him reshaped the entire Newcastle team, which eventually led to their downfall that lost the Premier League that season.
And the 4-3 defeat to Liverpool. Oh my God, what a game that was.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Unbelievable,
Would you
unbelievable.
guys consider that as the
Greatest
game
game.
of the decade of the 90s?
Yeah,
Yep, I would think so.
certainly.
I would think so. End to
I
end
think even
stuff.
till today, I think it's still it's probably the best
Yeah.
Premier League game ever. As a neutral, lah. Of course, indirectly also it helped us, but still,
Yes.
it's such an iconic game.
Mm.
And at the end, you remember, I think Stan Collymore scored the goal and the camera pan to Kevin Keegan and he's so
And
crestfallen.
yeah,
He's
and
down. He's
he
like,
just
oh,
covered, he just man, he just buried his head.
consider
Yeah.
again.
I think he
Oh,
Yeah.
knew at that point that it's over, lah, basically.
iconic interview after that. After the
Mm.
Leeds game, I think I love it if we beat them. I love it.
Mm.
And by
One thing I
identity,
realized about the 90s, there wasn't that many
characters.
of shocks, I would say, like absolute major shocks. Don't you guys agree? I mean, I would never consider Blackburn winning the Premier League was a shock. There was absolutely no way I would consider that. And if Arsenal were to win the Premier League in 97, 98, it also wouldn't consider a shock because it was a good team. It was a team that was, it was a dynasty of its own in the making.
Results, yes, but in terms of winning things, as you mentioned, I don't think so. No. Those who were good, they were leading, they won. Nobody came by surprise and suddenly won the league or suddenly created a great stir. So, yeah, you're right in that sense. That Arsenal team also, 97, 98, Nicholas Anelka, 97, 98 was another level. You never
Mm.
seen something like that. Well, what
Yep.
a great striker he was. Mark Overmars, so direct. I mean, we know Mark Overmars from World Cup. 94, you've seen him play. No big surprise, but Premier League now you see him week in, week out, so direct, such a speedster on the ball, very good winger.
Mhm.
Patrick Vieira, I was like thinking, who is this skinny guy? We can makan him lah. I think we can beat him, but he was so like he was like Dalsim. Remember Dalsim from Street Fighter? He was that.
Hey, what? Hey, yeah. What a comparison, man. Like, you just like spot on, man. Like, hit the nail on the
Long
head, man.
limbs, long hands.
Not because of the length of his limbs, right? His limbs were
Yeah.
like,
Mhm. Okay, before we wanted to sign up the show, Alvin, I think there's one more aspect of the 90s we need to mention. We need to talk about this one guy because he was a Premier League footballer, then decided to come over this side of the world,
Oh, I know.
had a few good runs, then goes back to the Premier League and makes a stir by scoring against Man United. You remember, you know the name?
Chris Kiromia.
You're almost there, almost there.
Oh, okay. Cotti.
Yes,
Yes.
Scotty.
I know he
Cotti
had
Cotti.
I think he played what, half a season or something. Then he decided to go back to the Premier League. And upon returning to the Premier League, he scores against Man United for Leicester.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, but I mean, at that period also, he was a good striker, lah. Would say,
Yeah,
right?
he was indeed.
His Everton days, and
Mhm.
West Ham, West
that as
Ham.
well. West Ham, Everton, yeah, and yeah, it was a
Yeah, decent striker. Yeah.
very, yeah.
There's
Okay.
another guy who caught our attention out of nowhere. Suddenly, first game played against United at Old Trafford, dribbled the whole defense and scored the goal. Paulo Wanchop for Derby County. And,
Oh, okay.
and Derby County beat United that match.
Hmm.
Derby County was also quite not bad of a team, and in those days, they're also missing.
Yep.
Yeah, I think these are some interesting names mentioned, but something also to note, right? Because everyone that watches the Premier League now is so used to the format what it is. But in the 90s was when the
Right.
transition happened. There was the 42 game season,
Yeah.
22
22
in the
teams.
league. Yeah, 22 teams and 4 relegations, and Blackburn. In fact, the season that Blackburn won was the last before it stopped. So Blackburn was the last team to win the 42 game season for 42 games in the season. And then it all came down now to 38 again, lah. What we are used these days, lah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ask you, so Alvin, do you get your latest scores?
So we used to rely, I mean, on print because this is pre-internet
Yeah,
days, right? There's
pre-internet.
no way
Yeah.
you can go and search for something and all that. You have to wait for the print lah to come. And the print will only come on the Sunday newspaper. You can
Oh,
get the results, but you only get the results for the early matches. So those late matches, you will not get it on the Sunday. You will get it on the Monday newspaper and all
Yep.
that. Right? And of course, news lah. Then you have to watch
okay.
news, the
No,
next
but
day
you
news on the
you
Sunday.
you missed out another very important newspaper, the Malay Mail.
Malay Mail.
Yes. Malay
Yeah,
Mail
Malay
comes
Mail
out. Yeah,
came
correct. Malay Mail comes
in the
out at noon.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's an afternoon paper,
Yeah.
so every result that happens the night before from the early morning it will be there lah for you. So one of the things that
Yeah.
I always look forward to when my dad comes back home after evening at work is the Malay Mail newspaper because I know that's when I'm gonna know all the latest result, the latest news, and everything what happened.
Yeah, correct. In
Yeah.
Singapore, I would like in time you would check on your phone live score and you get the scores immediately. But in those days, I would get up, you get ready getting ready for school. I'll turn on the TV, go on the teletext. That's where I get the latest scores.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now when you
Tele
mentioned about teletext, yeah.
yeah. So I was
Correct.
thinking whether you had teletext or not. And you didn't mention about it, so I thought maybe there wasn't any teletext there. But
I know the TV. Okay, the TV that we had at home never had that, but I remember seeing the teletext format, and it's very uh pixelized, and it's just text
yeah,
coming out in
correct.
green, blue text, and all that coming out on the
Yes.
screen, right? So you guys just used to have it naturally. It just comes out
No, on
on
the
your
T
TV
is
every
is
day.
on TV. You just have to go
Mm.
and
So a
scroll.
certain channel.
Yeah, scroll, set the setting. There's a setting there. You just press and then
Mm.
it will come on, the teletext will come on, and then you can see, you can
Yeah,
get all kind of information there, all the latest information, even
yeah,
news, who signed who, what's the latest scores in all the different leagues. Because like you, like in Malaysia, the straight times that will come out in the morning won't have
yep.
all the latest scores. The
Mm.
newspaper that we have will come out in the afternoon. So that's my favorite paper. But I didn't really buy it
So that was
until
your Malay meal, lah.
yeah,
That was
that's
like
our
your
Malay
Malay
mail
meal,
lah.
lah.
Correct, correct.
Uh,
So when I'm in Malaysia, I have the issue that okay, New Straits Times won't show lah all the scores. I have to wait. I have to wait till the next day, then I will get the scores.
yeah.
Because in my family, there nobody bought the Malay Mail, but I heard of the Malay Mail, but nobody bought it. Everyone just bought the New Straits Times and then said, "Never mind, you wait until the next day, or you check
Mhm.
the news and then you get the
So,
scores." So yeah,
so
I
you
remember.
just so yeah. So guys, just look back in the day and the life of on demand now. Anything is just at your fingertips, and
Yep.
how information was, so you had to go and dig and find and pay for it, and even then there's still a waiting period. Now it's like not instant, right?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
So basically, the Malay Mail, the Straight Times, the Teletext and all was our life score back of the day, lah, back in the
Yep.
day.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. I was still relying on it even in the 2000s as well before I had internet in my house because both those days, I used to
yeah.
go to cyber cafe quite often. Yeah. So guys, let's wrap this up. I want to ask you guys in few words, maybe start with you, Ras. What's your takeaway of Premier League in the 90s? Take it away, man.
Oh, it's of course a lot of good memories because United fan we won a lot. I think just today I was mentioning to my friend I missed listening to We Are the Champions. Used to used to ring out a lot at Old Trafford. I miss all of that. So yeah, a lot of happy memories. I think another thing we forget is the commentators in those days are
Hmm.
iconic. I don't know lah. I mean, I don't know, is it linked to the happy memories I have of United winning and winning trophies, or they're just good? It's just the commentators, Martin Tyler, they had Andy Gray, and
Hmm.
it's just a very different era. We've gone through a lot of things. The kids that they were, the players that we saw, the tactics teams use, the rough house tactics, the good tactics. All you got all sorts, and English football back those days was a lot long ball, a lot of teams playing long ball football, a lot of hustle and bustle, blood and thunder style that they love playing, and it set up the Premier League to be what it is today.
Yourself, Elwin. What's your takeaway of Premier League in the 90s? Good, bad?
I mean, it was the beginning, right, of where we are today. For me in particular, I enjoyed it a lot because that was the best days of my life following football.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, because it's before you get into the working, before you get into college,
Yeah,
before you
that's
get,
also true.
because
Yeah.
that was the period, where we were in school, and towards the end, sneaking out of the room and watching games late at night and stuff like that, and it was a moment where I really cherish and enjoy, and no regrets at all. Just loved it, and even the fact of the scarcity of information, going and digging here, digging
Mm.
there, trying to find stuff, collecting magazines. It was a moment, and especially like because now we are blessed actually to have YouTube. So those that are listening now can actually, you guys should just go back and watch some clips of Premier League in the 90s. That's what we just shared, this, the situation of the pitchers or the fans. So, just go and Google the Dell and find out what the Dell is about, guys. It's not Southampton is not about St. Mary's. Go back to the Dell days and then you'll know what's it about. Yeah, yeah. I,
Mm-hmm.
I, I, I would say Dell, Sivan. It was great memories, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yep.
totally cherished it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All wonderful input, guys. It was really enjoy talking to you guys about Premier League football in the 90s. So, Elvin, any last words from yourself?
Just had a
Bring
great
back the
great
90s.
time. Yeah. Yeah, time capsule. The 90s was great. Let's look forward to the upcoming season. of
Mhm.
Oh no.
what?
Bring
All right.
United back to the
Uh,
90s.
Okay. Last word from you,
what
Ras.
is to
Anything?
come?
Yeah, bring United back to the 90s. That's all.
Okay. All right. All right. All right.
Bring
Okay.
Sir Alex Ferguson back. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it, guys. Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
all right. Okay. With that said, guys, we will end this week's episode of the Bola Bola Show. Hope you guys enjoy our discussion today and be sure to, follow us on all our social media and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And, we are available on all the platforms, Spotify, Apple, we are all there. So that's it, guys. Ciao, bye. And we'll see you guys
Ciao,
on the
bye.
next
Thanks for the
episode.
invite, Sivan. Looking
No
forward to
problem, man. No problem. My
one.
pleasure.
Take care, guys.
Take
Bye.
care. Bye.